ओके सो पहले तो सबको नववर्ष की शुभकामनाएं। हैप्पी न्यू ईयर टू यू ऑल। 2025
थैंक यू।
लेट्स होप कि क्रिकेट में इंडिया का बाढ़ आ जाए विद ग्रेट एंड ग्रेट परफॉर्मेंसेस। बट आई हैव टू टेल यू 2024 वाज वेरी वेरी गुड फॉर इंडिया। इट्स ओनली दिस लास्ट 2 मंथ्स व्हिच हैज बीन बैड। सो ईट स्लीप ड्रिंक क्रिकेट सबको न्यू ईयर विश करता है। और हमारे दोनों दिग्गज मिस्टर अभिजीत दास पटनायक और भास्कर सूर्यनारायण जो बिल्कुल बहुत स्मार्ट बन के आए हैं, दोनों को नववर्ष की शुभकामनाएं देता हूं और थैंक यू सो मच। हमने 2024 में तो सबको बताना जरूरी है कि 100 क्रिकेट वीडियोस बनाया है और वो रिकॉर्ड हुआ है। सो थैंक यू सो मच। 100 वीडियो बहुत होते हैं और एक वीडियो हमारा 500 के ऊपर व्यूज भी बनाया है। जो मिस्टर अमित रानड़े के साथ है वो नहीं है, बट कोई बात नहीं, वो बाद में आ जाएंगे। और लगातार अब 300 व्यूज होते ही हैं। सो थैंक यू सो मच फॉर पीपल हु लिसन एंड अप्रिशिएट टू अस। आई नो अभिजीत भास्कर आपको यूट्यूब कमेंट्स में नहीं दिखते, बट they ping you separately and they also talk a lot. They also ask us कि क्यों आज रिव्यू क्यों नहीं आया, आज प्रीव्यू क्यों नहीं आया। ये सब तो अच्छा लगता है। और you know it is very necessary for people to know that this is just a passion which we all follow. व्यूज तो है, अच्छी बात है, we want people to know our viewpoint, but majorly एक passion है इस गेम के। so I was telling my wife also the other day कि इतना क्यों देखते हो। तो I told we all are stakeholders of Indian cricket और हमारा दिमाग ऐसे ही रहेगा। 4:30 को उठेंगे, ये होगा। तो यू कांट स्टॉप। ये तो मतलब बंदा जब 13 साल का रहता है तब से ही स्टार्ट है, तो क्या ही बोले। सो दिस इज ऑल पार्ट एंड पार्सल ऑफ एवरीथिंग। सो थैंक यू फॉर डूइंग दिस गाइस। सो आई एम इमीडिएटली कमिंग टू द टॉपिक। सो कपल ऑफ टॉपिक्स। सो अभिजीत, आप मेलबर्न का रिव्यू देना भूल गए, सो यू कैन ऑब्वियसली चिप इन अ बिट अबाउट व्हाट मेलबर्न हैड। सेकंड, सिडनी का प्रीव्यू करेंगे हम, व्हाट। एंड देन थर्ड, स्मॉल सेक्शन वेयर वी विल थिंक कि आगे इंडियन क्रिकेट को हम किस तरीके से इस साल को देखते हैं। सो लेट्स डिस्ट्रीब्यूट द टाइम एंड स्पीक। सो अभिजीत, आई स्टार्ट विथ यू। आप मेलबर्न का रिव्यू, अपना व्यू पॉइंट दीजिए मेलबर्न का, एंड देन विल गो अलाउड।
So, I think Melbourne Test जो है is one of the most memorable test matches in recent times, especially the first 4 days. If you start with initially that Constas went for a barrage of shots, and it was Constas was everywhere there, and वहां से लेके फिर बुमराह bowls a peach of a delivery जो head को bold करता है, the topic became that. Next day everything changed. Next day I remember जायसवाल का एक रन आउट था which became a big controversial moment. कि not controversial कि किसने रन आउट करवाया था. We had the standard Rohit failures as usual in both innings and the Virat failures in both innings. And then the best part of the match came where Nitish Reddy and Washington Sundar stitched a great partnership. By the way, Washington Sundar's test average is 50, which nobody cares to remember. He's the first guy who will get dropped, whenever the chance comes, but his test average is 50. Of course, Nitish Reddy lighted up the test match, on day three with that Pushpa thing and that Bahubali thing. I mean, it's great things, when you see some Indianness being displayed on the global stage, it's a big matter of being proud, for all of us. So that was a great day. And then the topic moved to his dad, who was weeping, and we met Sunil Gavaskar. Lots of, and then we came to the third innings, which is Australia's second innings, and Bumrah gets this guy Constas bowled, and then he waves the crowd to great moment of the match. And then uske baad head is, I think, 200 wicket for Bumrah hota hai. Head fails for second consecutive time, and for Indian fan that's a big news. Head has failed again. And wahan tak, there was memories after memories after memories, and then the tale of Australian team they stitched. But unfortunately, all that is forgotten now. All that is forgotten now. All we remember is an extremely painful loss, a match which we should never, never have lost. You know, I mean, think of it. Australia delayed their declaration. Even that was a talking point. Why is Australia delaying the declaration? Because Australia को मालूम था कि boss India have a solid batting lineup, big names on paper, and they are batting up to 8 down. कहीं वो chase ना कर दे. अगर हम 260 दिया और chase कर दिया तो हम बहुत बुर्बक लगेंगे. So Australia kept batting that day. Australia kept batting the next day also. It was a big tribute to the Indian batting. But what did the Indian batting do? We blunted the old ball. We blunted the new ball. Rohit Sharma existed till the 15th over. First 15 overs, the new ball has been blunted. We thought, half the battle was won there. But from there, suddenly we are 25 for 3. And then, it's just downhill all the way. And again, the only controversies which are left talking today is India's painful loss, and that, the sneakometer versus optical, decisioning. Of course, that was wrong also. So, no, a lot of talking. And it's a very painful. As I told you all yesterday, ना कि वो gangs of वसईपुर का ऋचा चड्ढा का डायलॉग है, कैसे खाना खा ले रहे हो तुम लोग, खून नहीं खौलता तुम लोगों का. Yeah, I'm totally crestfallen. The series was 1-1. It was on a knife edge. Imagine if it was a draw and we were going into Sydney. And we know, for all practical purposes, it's a bad time to be a cricket fan these last 2 months of the year, last 2.5 months of the year. Else, before that, we were rocking like anything. Rajiv.
Yeah, I agree with you. And so I mentioned this, and unfortunately that day the my internet was really acting bad. Uh, so I told that India played really very very good cricket. Let's remember that sometimes the results will not come to your own thing. It may not favor you. India has done it to others, so हमारे साथ भी हुआ है. So you have to take it with a pinch of salt. The disappointment was India had an opportunity to win the test match. And that's why I felt very disappointed. Draw होने वाला था और हार गए कोई बात नहीं I could have but winning was a very big thing for a test match. So that moments has to be captured, right? But anyways, I mean, as you said, it was a wonderful test match. 5 दिन पूरे चले हैं तो इससे ज्यादा क्या ही कह सकते हैं. So it happens. 5 years, 10 years down the line, when people would look at that test match, they may not remember what moments it went through. People like us will remember some of them. It will just be stats. Like somebody told me कि 180 runs से कौन हारता है यार. If it was 50 60 it would have been okay. uh, See, playing time and playing runs is a different aspect, and playing time India did well. People don't survive in Australia for 80 overs. It's all over within 60 overs, 50 60 overs. I've been telling 80 overs survive करना बहुत मुश्किल है. And hence that punt dismissal at the last, I mean, you have to say that was a turning point for the draw to happen. So anyways, I have no qualms, I have no disappointments है. But ठीक है, जो हो गया सो हो गया. You would accept and move on. And I'll give my viewpoint later when the Sydney preview happens. So Bhaskar, I come for the Sydney preview. मेलबर्न के बारे में आपने काफी डिस्कस किया, आपने काफी कुछ बताया. वी वांट ऐड अ लाइन और टू, प्लीज डू दैट, नो प्रॉब्लम. बट व्हाट डू यू सी फॉर सिडनी? आप सिडनी को कैसे देखते हैं? म्यूट पे हैं सर, आप म्यूट पे हैं.
भास्कर सिडनी को देखता ही नहीं है.
Okay, fine. See, merely the biggest disappointment is of 2024 is still what happened in India, because that's something which we never expected. Okay, 2-1 going into the fifth test is not that bad in Australia. Okay, it's if you see, it's quite a positive result. If this was the kind of situation we were maybe 10 years down, like 15, 20 years back, we would have said we have played very well. So I think, okay, Brisbane test, we shouldn't have lost. A test we had no business losing, because 7 wickets, it was not a pitch uh, where we could have lost 7 wickets after tea. Because between tea and Blanch and tea, the way Pant and Jaiswal batted, it looked like an easy draw. If you see, not just Pant, even Jaiswal fell to a bad shot. There was no need for him to go for a pull shot at that point in time. He just had to sway away from the ball. So if you see, both Jaiswal, Pant, Rohit Sharma all fell to bad strokes. Virat Kohli, of course, he got sucked into that, which is probably a major technical flaw which he has developed. But if you see, both Pant and Jaiswal got out to bad shots, and that's my problem. And even in the first innings, we didn't really play very well. It was Nitish Reddy who coming in at 7, whose main job is to take a few wickets and score a few runs, got us out of that. Again, the top order failed. So, wo issues are still there. So, I won't really say that India played very well. An unexpected 100 from at 7 really pulled us out of the woods. Of course, Bumrah is probably the greatest bowler, post-war fast bowler of all times. It's looking more and more evident as the days are progressing. Coming to Sydney, of course, the team more or less is going to look the same. Probably Gill might come in for Jadeja, or maybe we might play an extra fast bowler just to give that extra bit of rest for Bumrah. Probably we might play for fast bowlers, though it's a spinning track. I remember even in 1992, the only spinning pitch we had, we played 4 fast bowlers and dropped the only spinner, Raju. So
Yeah.
probably we might just play an extra fast bowler because Bumrah needs some rest. we can't afford losing Bumrah, because with the Champions Trophy coming and the kind of white ball team we are, kind of ODI team we are, I think we are the world champions in T20 cricket. We are the World Cup finalists in ODI cricket. We are we are the Champions Trophy finalists. So we've been reaching all the world championship. If you see the last four, the last World Test Championship final, we were there. Last Champions Trophy final, we were there. Last World Cup ODI World Cup final, we were there. Last T20 World Cup, we were there. So we have a great record to preserve. So I think we can't afford to lose Bumrah. So we have to be very, very careful with if the pitch is going to be flat, don't really bowl 20, 25 overs of Bumrah. I'm telling you that. It's okay if we are not like if we don't look like winning, don't over bowl him. It's very, very important to preserve him. And I think that's what we need to look at, how we are going to preserve Bumrah. That's my only concern with Sydney. Rajiv.
Okay, yeah, I take your point, and yeah, you are right that Jaiswal for that sneakometer, while people talk about the controversy, the shot in itself was bad. So, but you learn. I mean, that's the whole point. People learn and they come out of it. There is just this one small thing which, before I come to you, Abhijit, I wanted to inform that Sydney pitch, which was the traditional, which was giving spin and all, it's now a drop-in pitch and very similar to what happens in Melbourne. Though Sydney has still shown that on the fifth day, spin is a factor there. Fifth day. But the first 3, 4 days, it typically plays like Melbourne. Like you have some carry bounce, and then it keeps going slow, 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 and then it starts assisting a bit of spin towards the end. So the nature of the pitch has slightly changed. It's not the same. So you necessarily need not have. You need a very similar bowling lineup. So how do you think? What do you say about Sydney? What is your take on Sydney?
So actually, Sydney historically has been, some time ago, Rajiv, you were saying how passionate we people are about cricket. So, we are following this for roughly 40 years, close to 40 years in my case, since 1984. So I know Sydney as a very bad ground for India, very painful ground for India. In 86, there was a test match which we should have won because of umpiring issues. We couldn't win that test match. Similarly, in 92, of course, we made some bad decisions as a team also. But again, there were umpiring issues. There were other issues also why we lost. Umpire halka drizzle. Umpire says play called off because Australia are in a big trouble. Same thing हुआ था 86 में. Same thing हुआ था 92 में. Then in 1990, in the hockey Olympics, in the Sydney Olympics, India needed to beat lowly Poland to reach the semi-finals, and India were winning that match 1-0 in Sydney, and India were a great team in that tournament. And in the last 90 seconds, Poland out of the blue equalized. So that I remember I had skipped. I had office lunch time के बाद मैं late जा रहा था office. मैं सर नीचे करके बैठा हुआ था. After that loss, we couldn't reach the semis then. That the Dhanraj Pillai team. Then coming to 2004, that's a match in Sydney, cricket match which we should have won. Parthiv Patel missed some stumping. There was some umpiring howlers. 2008 Sydney Test, memorable. Nobody can ever forget it. The Steve Buckler was asked to retire, and very rightfully so. That was another test we should have won. So Sydney has been a very painful ground for us. Apart from a few innings from Lakshman and Tendulkar and all, it has been a very painful ground for us. Had we been 1-1 in the series, I would have said play the same team, just Gill in place of Rohit, and KL Rahul to open in the place he's been doing well in the series. But now that India has lost 2-1, and we don't seem to see any changes coming in the top batting order, which is Rohit and Virat are going to play, which means we start with a handicap of 40 for 3. You were saying some time ago we played very well. Actually, our players have played very well considering every innings we started with a handicap of 40 for 3. Almost, apart from Perth's second innings, every innings we started around 40 for 3 or 70 for 3, something like that. So, so which means all the other players would be crestfallen by now. Losing this game, they would know कि बॉस हम कुछ भी कर ले हमारा टॉप ऑर्डर 40 for 3 तो होने वाला है. Virat will still play, Rohit will still play. So I actually will advocate that Bumrah be rested for this game, because I heard a clip from this MCG test 4th day where Rohit was telling Bumrah that Bumrah एक और ओवर जैसे एक और ओवर डालेगा, he said और जोर नहीं डाल पाऊंगा, something like that he said, and he refused to bowl that. It came in Insta and all those, it came those clips. So if it is that, I would rather have Bumrah rested. I don't mind losing this test because I think WTC final is anyways gone. Unless Australia lose 0-2 to Sri Lanka and all, there is no way winning this test will mean anything to us. So, and anyways, WTC final एक चीज होता है, we need Bumrah for the next 1 year. वो अलग चीज होता है. We need Bumrah for the Champions Trophy. So, left to me, I would, if I were to be, managing the team, I would have definitely dropped Virat and Rohit, and have taken Padikkal and Jural. These are the talents whom we need to nurture. Ideally, Sudarshan should also have been in this squad, and these three should have played all the test matches. As Bhaskar always says, after this 0-3 loss to New Zealand, heads should have rolled, but heads never rolled, and they are unlikely to roll for Sydney. So very likely we'll play, because the bowling attack looks fine. So very likely we'll play the same team, same 11, and then we'll make. I don't see India recovering from here. Sydney is a painful ground, and the way India's lost the last match and everything is, I expect this to be a routine loss for us actually, where Australia may bat first, make a massive score, and make a hell of us. Rajiv.
Yeah, yeah. And let me state this point also, and I'm in 100% agreement with you. See, after an emotionally draining match like what happened in Melbourne, you really get down the pump. So in 2018, what happened is in Melbourne, Langer actually challenged his team because they won in Perth. They came back to Melbourne, and then Virat Kohli showed some exceptional captaincy. And India, day one, they left at around 220 for two or something, where Pujara and Virat Kohli went back. So they were ready to blunt the ball, and they really tired down the entire Australian squad. And then the next test match starts, India bats first, they get around 600. These guys get bowled out cheaply, and then Virat Kohli enforces the follow on also. And then the rain come for 2 days and they miss. But they would have lost the match. And Sydney would have been one of those things where India could have said we have won a test match in Sydney. But fair enough. See, what happens is when you have a very emotionally draining match like this, it's very difficult to come back, and that too with such kind of baggage. Imagine that man, Bumrah, what is his motivation to bowl now? He picked up 9 wickets, he changed the match's course, everything he did, but then he couldn't complete the job for India. So it's very, very disappointing. And such matches ensure that you actually lose the match very horribly. So I also don't have any specific expectation that India will win unless you have some motivation to go around the match. And that's why if Rohit and Kohli don't play and you get few new players, the dynamic of the team changes. There is a new captain. Let's say Bumrah is the captain, and as Bhaskar pointed out, if you get one more fast bowler also in the mix, so that there is equal distribution, then you have a motivation to go ahead and win the test match. But now there is no motivation except Rohit trying to save his own reputation for whatever it is. So, I really feel for what has happened. But, they say that test matches and these big things come only once in a lifetime opportunity. So maybe there is some motivation, and I'm proved wrong, but I honestly don't see anything specific. On the team composition, I'm coming to you, Bhaskar. So I'll give my perspective. Ideally, Rohit is not going to sit out, so there is no point in talking about it. But I think we need an extra batter in Gill, which means that either Washington Sundar or probably Jadeja would have to give way to it. So it looks like Washington Sundar may sit out. Now, the other issue I feel is that Akashdeep has bowled very well with the new ball, and Siraj is blow hot, blow cold, but one of them has to be replaced for the simple reason that that line and length is not coming properly, which Bumrah is able to obviously do it, but you need somebody who can bowl bouncers and all. So probably there is a case of either Prasidh Krishna, who can pitch the ball up and get some swing, or you have Harshit Rana who has an ability to bowl bounces. But Harshit Rana lacks, he can't bowl so many. See, like one of the things about Siraj is he goes like a workhorse, keeps on bowling. You don't have that with Harshit Rana. So I don't know, but they have to change tweak few things, but otherwise looks like the same team. I mean, and KL Rahul will still come at one down. I mean, it's exceptional, right? I mean, see the thing, गलती कोई और करता है, भरता कोई और है. मतलब ये एक फंडा मेरे ये कितने टेस्ट मैचेस से चलते आ रहे हैं. But anyway, चलिए भास्कर, आप बताइए, आप टीम
I mean,
कॉम्पोजिशन को कैसे
imagine,
देखते हैं?
Rajiv, imagine
Yeah,
you just said Sundar could be dropped. I start of the program, I said Sundar will be the first guy to be dropped. Jab bhi aaga. Sundar
yeah,
has actually played, he's actually played 250 balls this test match, but he is
yeah,
the first guy who's going to be dropped.
correct, correct. क्योंकि we are not calling out we'll come back to that elephant in the room. But आप team composition बोलिए and then we'll discuss the elephant in the room.
See, instead of going back to Gill, I think I would probably punt with, say, Sarfraz, because Sydney pitch is slightly flat. It's known to be flat. And Sarfraz is the guy who scored. He's the one who's, I think, scored the last, apart from Jaiswal, he's the one who scored a 150, isn't it? So that shouldn't be forgotten. Of course, he played a few bad shots against New Zealand and he got on in the next two games, but he's the guy who scored, who showed that he can play. And it was India was really came back because of that 150, and that was the only time when we looked like fighting against New Zealand. So I think there's no harm in giving Sarfraz a go. Gill has been given a lot of chances. You can't be averaging 35 in, say, 5, 6 years of Test cricket, and I think it's a good chance to give Sarfraz a go. Maybe Padikkal can be brought in. Jurel, it's a bit difficult because the way he failed in that first test, and we already have a keeper in Rishabh Pant. So I think it should either be Padikkal or probably give Sarfraz a go, because the Sydney pitch, if it doesn't swing too much, could be to the liking of Sarfraz, because Sarfraz is a guy who's known to score big runs. And so Sydney is one place where we have had a lot of double hundreds. If you see, Ravi Shastri scored a double century, Sachin scored a double century. I think Sachin scored one more 170 odd, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, Lakshman has played very good knocks
154.
in 2008, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we
And
had a lot of
80,
big
80
knocks.
in 2011. So
Yeah.
India were struggling to even score 300 at one point of time for
Mhm.
the 2011 period. The only 400 score came in Sydney.
Yeah. So I think Sydney is a place where we can expect to have big scores. So if you're lucky enough to win the toss and we bat first, we can think of scoring getting in excess of 500. You remember we scored 750 in 2003, 2004. We batted like well into the third day. In fact, almost I think 1 hour or almost till lunch on third day. So we can those days we just wanted to make sure that there's no chance we lose, because we are 1-all and 1-all. We were quite happy coming back. So I think. If we bat first, we score 500, 550, we can probably get away with a draw. I doubt whether on this kind of a pitch, Australia will really get bowled out cheaply, and it'll be easy for us to win. But I think if India bat first, there is a chance. And Sydney is a place where Sachin was out of form. He decided not to play cover drives, played on the leg side and scored 241. I think why not we just rethink and we can have a deja vu with Virat Kohli, probably the only all-time great batsman in this team. Uh, Maybe with Jaiswal probably getting there, but I think Kohli, if at all he has to come back, he's not looked totally out of form. His dismissals have more been due to his technical faults. So he scored 100. That means he scored a 36 in the first innings. So I think it's possible that he can. Rohit Sharma, even if he gets 100, it's of no use. He deserves to get dropped. There's no point hanging on to him. But Virat, we still hope that there is a spark remaining, and we can see one last hurrah and probably a season of good cricket from Virat Kohli. So I hope that Virat Kohli plays and probably comes back to form, and maybe he can go to England. But Rohit Sharma, even if he scores 100, it's totally pointless hanging on to him anymore. Rajiv.
Even if he scores 100, looks like hope against hope. He cannot score 100. He is technically zero today. I can assure you. It's very tough words to use. So my hope against hope for Rohit Sharma is he comes and starts doing what Sam Constas did the other day, and hope he gets a 30 or 40 balls or something like that. Because if he does that, then the ODI Champions Trophy has something to take there. Otherwise, I really fear कि Champions Trophy में भी बर्बाद है हाल. But anyways, I won't talk about it now. But I like the fact that you're backing Sarfaraz to come into the equation. My only thing with the reason why I mentioned Gill is because he played 2 test matches here. So he's far more equipped to play here. But we don't know. I mean, what will happen? It's not going to be easy. So, Abhijit, आप कैसे देखते हैं? How do you see? What do you want? How do you want the team composition to be?
No, I'm more with what Bhaskar said. Although Bhaskar was a very lenient on Kohli, I don't think I'll be lenient on Kohli. Kohli scored a century on the day when he came to bat at 270 for 2. That century is not as important for me, because at 270 for 2 we already had a total we had a total to win the match. But later, then when he came to bat at 17 for 2, he fails. When he comes to bat at 70 for 2, he fails. So that 270 for 2 tab my century kiya, I don't think means much. MCG pitch was a flat pitch. That is a pitch where Kohli was expected to do better. Not only he got Jaiswal run out, although there are debates on who got whom run out, but immediately after getting Jaiswal run out, or after Jaiswal gets run out, the next ball he himself gets out. The next over, first ball. So I don't see Kohli in that space anymore. I think he's in a different space altogether. Maybe if he's made captain or something, उसके अंदर वो spark आएगा. But फिलहाल तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. So I would wish Rohit and Kohli both are dropped and we take Padikkal. Either Jurel or Sarfaraz, I'm fine with it. And also a change in the bowling order. Maybe Prashit Krishna, give him one. आपने सबको तो खिला दिया स्क्वाड में, प्रसिद्ध कृष्णा को क्यों छोड़ दिया? उसको भी एक गेम दो, सरफराज को भी एक गेम दे दो. And then at least what we will have is, we'll have, as you said, a new spark in the team. Because we have new players today in the team. Bumrah, come go. Maybe we'll do it this time with a new team. We did win at Perth, but but with those oldies, we were not winning. I'm nobody to ask Rohit or Virat to retire, but I think Agarkar being there has not helped one bit. He should have taken the call to drop these people. That no, we are dropping. Pehle se ek base bana lo. Even Ashwin leaving the tour midway, I don't think Agarkar being there has helped at all. In fact, if anything, he's protected the stars. So yeah, I just hope it's a changed team. It's a much changed team which plays at Sydney, and not the same team with Sundar dropped. Of all people, Sundar dropped. The guy who played 250 balls. Towards then, Sundar was the only hope to draw the test match for us, and he's the guy who's going to be dropped. It'll be very heartbreaking and very, very unfair. Raji.
Yeah, but if Rohit and Kohli play the test match, I can assure you that the balance would still be bad, and it would mean that somehow one of them
True.
has to. You will have a performer to be dropped because उन दोनों को जो छुपा छुपा के
True.
तो ये लोग खेल रहे हैं ना, तो क्या ही बोल सकते हैं.
True.
So anyways, I mean, there's no point in speaking about it. Uh, I don't see India winning the test match. India will lose the test match. In fact, if it goes the distance, it'll be India losing the test match. The only hope, as I mentioned, is, and both of you have also mentioned, is that India, if it gets a chance to bat first, without that pressure, if they put that first innings runs, then there is a chance. Because you
True.
have players who have done that. So Jaiswal, I don't have any expectation on Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, but Jaiswal has done it. KL Rahul, if he gets the chance, and he got two brilliant balls from Cummins, and that's why he was getting out. But not every time it's going to happen, right? And then you have the
True.
likes of Nitish Reddy and Jadeja. All these guys have stuck around and played, so we can get runs. ऐसा नहीं होगा करके. Now, one more topic which I wanted to bring in, and Abhijit, I'm going directly to you, and then I'll go to Bhaskar, is Pant has been, he's been really, really put under the pump, and he's been criticized for some shots which is just not done at all for his stature. I mean, I know he has a way of playing, but the thing is, the risk factor which he took for both the games, the difference between that stroke and playing something on the ground is 2 runs. उससे ज्यादा कुछ मिलने से नहीं वाला. That's the risk factor you're playing for. 2 रन के लिए आप बना रहे हो कि आप 6 मारोगे करके. Now, these grounds are different, and when you tour the last time also, when you come back and play in a country like Australia or England or anywhere outside, you come after 4 years, so things change. You have been playing in Indian conditions where आपका मिस हिट भी 6 जाता है, लेकिन यहाँ ऐसा नहीं होता ना. But the top class shot भी 3 runs देता है आपको, right? So ये सब देखते हुए पंत एक is an issue which even Rohit pointed out. रोहित खुद पे तो कुछ बोला नहीं, लेकिन उसको पॉइंट आउट किया उसने. So that is one. And also, what's happening is this relates to this article written by a journalist, which is all over social media today, where there is some news leak about Gambhir being very annoyed with the players and all, which is fine. Coach has to be annoyed. अब performance नहीं आएगा, coach नहीं बोलेगा तो कौन जाके बोलेगा? उसी को बोलना पड़ेगा, which is fine. But there is a leak of news and all these things happening, na? Which happened with Australia also after they lost the Perth Test match. बोला बॉलिंग कैंप है, बैटिंग कैंप है, ये सब. तो वो मेरे को उससे इशू नहीं है, बट इशू ये है कि what all is being spoken about is my question. I mean, न्यूज लीक छोड़ दो यार, वो तो चलता रहेगा, उसका क्या है. आपको सवाल है
So
अभिजीत.
actually, ये सारी चीजें होती है after you lose a test. When once it was 1-1, there was no such news that camp में problem है. The moment you lose a test, immediately all these things come up. That I think the article hints at Jadeja throwing his weight around that make him captain. He will, take the team. होता है, once a team loses. But coming on the Pant shot, Pant is averaging 22 in this series, which is very disappointing, considering he plays, as a premier batsman. But let's not forget, he's playing as an all-rounder. His first job is wicket keeping. if his wicket keeping skills are down, he will immediately be replaced, right? And as a wicket keeper, he's not dropped anything. He's been very good as a wicket keeper. So his primary job, he's doing it. Yes, in his next job, which is the batting job, he's made errors. But I will give him the benefit out because he's averaging 22, but then he comes to bat every other day at 40 for 3. The top order hasn't helped him a bit. When he was promoted up the batting order, it was not under anything that was 40 for 3. I दिन मुझे आना पड़ेगा, जाके खेलना पड़ेगा. Second of all, if it comes to bat shots, as you mentioned some time ago, even that Jaiswal's hook was a bad shot. Even Jaiswal, why I mentioned 40 for 3? I purposely mentioned 40 for 3. आप सोचोगे वो तो सिर्फ रोहित और विराट है, तीसरा कौन आ गया? In the first 3 matches, in the first innings, Jaiswal has total played 10 balls. In the first 3 matches, in the first innings. So hopefully Gambhir and guys have spoken to him and he's improved that in MCG. But it's a fact Jaiswal also has played bad shots in this tour. Rohit also has played bad shots. Virat also. Our entire problem is the batting and the bad shots which we are playing. Which we don't see a Sundar play much. We don't see a Nitish Reddy play much. We don't see the second half of our batting lineup play much. So I won't go. I don't think Gavaskar was right to call stupid to Pant, because आप अगर उसको 3 बार stupid बोलो तो आपको रोहित विराट को 10-10 बार stupid बोलना चाहिए, जो आपने नहीं बोला है. So in a way, what you do when you do such a thing is you hide other failures by putting Pant as the guy कि बस देखो ये होता तो हम ड्रॉ करते, इसके शॉट की वजह से हम हारे, इसके शॉट की वजह से हम नहीं हारे. हम हारे बिकॉज हम 25 for 3 हो जाते हैं. हम हारे बिकॉज हमारी टॉप बैट्समैन आए दिन बैड शॉट्स खेल रही है. Okay, including Jaiswal. I know he's made some great scores also, but in the where he didn't make a great score, he's got out within the first 5-7 balls he's faced. So it is a collective failure. Only the bowlers have to be spared, and Nitish Reddy, Washington Sundar, वही दोनों के काम कर रहे हैं. But I think the entire batting lineup is a colossal failure since the New Zealand series, and that's our root problem. Rank turners is not our root problem. Fast pitches is not our root problem. Our batsmen just have forgotten how to bat, barring a few innings here and there. But again, Sydney, things can change because we are a momentum team. We bat first, Jaiswal makes 150. KL Rahul sticks in with a 50. Suddenly we are 200 for 2. वहां से we make 400. The bowling attack is all पूरे चौड़ा होके आएगा bowling करने के लिए. So, but the chances of this happening are very, very low.
चौड़ा होके आएगा. सही बोले आप. तो it's a good point. It's a real good point, and I buy everything what you said. सही बोला आपने. तो भास्कर, मैं आपके पास जाता हूँ. आप भी प्लीज बताइए कि टीम में आप पंत को कैसे देखते हैं. एक ही सवाल इसमें है कि अगर वो 40 for 3 या ऐसे में आ रहा है, तो isn't it आप पंत को 6 कर दो ताकि वो शॉट्स पे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. ही कैन प्ले वे वांट एंड यू गेट नीतीश रेड्डी हु इज अ जेन्युइन बैटर. उसको 5 पे ले आओ, क्या फर्क पड़ता है. And by the way, India has done this. Lakshman, Dravid and all, they have changed places. Ganguly 6 पे खेला, Lakshman 5 पे खेला, 3 पे भी गया है. ये सब हुआ है. It's not a bad thing to do, right?
Not at all. I've always been saying that because Pant, because he's had so many injuries, and then he's. Do you want him to be playing at number 5 and then also keep for 90 overs or 120 overs? Because that keeping is a tiring job. We all know it's one of the most difficult jobs. In fact, along with being the premier fast bowler, I think keeping is the second most toughest job in the team. So I think there's no harm in bringing Pant down, and probably Nitish Reddy should start concentrating and playing as a pure batsman, because we have seen his bowling is just not up there. Calling him an all-rounder is all fine, but he's not a genuine all-rounder. We know that. He's nowhere close to say, like Ravindra Jadeja becomes a genuine all-rounder the moment he comes back to India. Of course, he's not that good like probably what Manjrekar called him. He's a bit of a bits and pieces when he plays in overseas conditions, because he has hardly really taken big hauls, because he scored a few hundreds here and there, but he's a bit of both. But Nitish Reddy's bowling is just not up to the mark. We all know that. And he's playing brilliantly as a batsman. So there's no harm in playing him as a pure batsman. Tell him that you are playing as a pure batsman. Your bowling is the additional. So when he's playing at 6-7, he knows that his batting is like not really looked up to. Even if he scores a 30 or a 40, people start praising him. But that's not what we want from a genuine player. We need proper, genuine specialists. So no harm in playing Nitish Reddy up there. But one thing, Pant's shot in the first innings, I won't really criticize that much, because we had to get runs. And that's a shot he's been playing very well. And if you see, it just took the edge and it went to deep third man. And if he had gone to fine leg, it would have been a normal shot. It's quite a safe shot for, and he's been playing that shot quite often and he's getting runs. So I don't think the first inning shot needs to be criticized too much. He went for some runs and he got out. But the second innings, there's absolutely no need for that shot. That was just came out of the blue, because till that moment he had played brilliantly. He was leaving the ball. I don't know what made him play that shot. Even a 6 wouldn't have helped in any case, isn't it? even if you are going to get 8 runs for that shot, there's no point playing that shot when there's no need for that shot at all. So you're not going to get close to the target. You're not really going after the target. And I don't know what made him play that shot. That's where it's called a rush of blood or like total brain fade moment. And that's the problem. First inning shot, that's Pant's game. I'm okay with it because that's what you need to score hundreds, right? So, and that's how he's been. He averages in excess of 40. There are only two players who average in excess of 40 right now. Uh, Apart from Jaiswal is Washington Sundar and Pant. And of course, maybe Nitish Reddy now. But Pant has had a genuinely proper career. So he's been scoring runs, he's been scoring hundreds. For a wicketkeeper to be averaging 44 is 6 more than, say, Mahendra Singh Dhoni's career average. Very few wicketkeepers really average in excess of 40. So Pant doesn't need to be really told that much. Even against New Zealand, he was playing brilliantly. He has a different technique altogether. So he plays that way. But the first second inning shot is where I'm really concerned about, because that's not a top order top cricketer to play that kind of a shot when absolutely there's no need for it. Rajiv.
Right. No, the whole point I would see is that, why Gavaskar explained it, why he was so annoyed with Pant is because he got hit in on the back, and then it was his ego कि अरे मैं नहीं कर सकता क्या, मैं वापस करके दिखाएगा तेरे को करके. That's where, and Gavaskar obviously knows a thing or two about these players, so he was more annoyed with the ego rather than the shot itself.
That's true.
And
That's true.
yeah, and that's why he got really
Yeah.
angry on that point. And then the second thing is, in the second innings, what had really happened is Australia was heavily tiring. Cummins, Stark, they were not able to do it. And that's why Travis Head came. He was overballed by Labuschagne also. So if these guys had continued for 45 minutes, the match was over. I think इतना हो चुका था कि जो 15 ओवर्स का लास्ट मैंडेटरी ओवर्स जो होता है ना, उस पे भी वो लोग हैंडशेक करके चले जाते थे, क्योंकि वो लेवल पे जा चुका था, क्योंकि एक पूरा सेशन they played it out, so it was not required. But I guess that's where you learn and you go ahead. I mean, अभी इसके बारे में बात करके फायदा नहीं है. Pant has won a lot of matches for India, so he's a genuine match winner. Maybe just explain him what he needs to do. And Abhijit, आपने mention भी किया था कि he is a serious candidate for captaincy for India also, because there's a problem with Bumrah that he is a better captain, probably better tactically and strategically, and has more respect in the dressing room than Pant. But the only issue is, what if he's injured? So that's going to be, but you never know. You can bring in a VC and you play. That I can't take a call on that, or can't suggest that, but let's see what happens. But my only submission, or the end call, I mean, we hardly have few seconds left out. My only is that if we get some newness to the team, it will help, because that's the only way you can salvage something out of this match. Otherwise, it's going down the wrong side. I mean, because it's a very, I mean, fans like us are very emotionally drained out. तो यार वो तो प्लेयर है, उसको क्या, उसको नहीं लगेगा क्या, उसको भी लगेगा ना. So that's the whole point. So yeah, Bhaskar is inching to say something, so I'll let him pitch in.
See, I still feel that we could get away with a draw and it could be a 2-1. That's what my gut feel is saying, that it's going to be like I had predicted 3-1 or 2-all, but I think right now, if you want me to bet on something, I would go for a draw, and it would be 2-1. Australia, of course.
Fair enough. Sydney, we have drawn test matches. The unbelievable draw happened when Hanuma Vihari and Ashwin drew the test match last time. So ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है जो impossible है, सब होता है. Right. So thank you guys. Thanks for joining. We had a great discussion, and we'll see you on 3rd at 4:30 a.m. Right.
Fine.
Great. Take care, guys. Chalo. Bye.
Bye bye.